All right, guys, this is Harris Sultan. I've got a very special guest with me, Leah Nuska. And from what I've heard, I think she has been through a lot, and you will understand more about her story as she tells her story. It's the first time when she's telling her story, and she has revealed her face and obviously her full name as well. And you'll learn why that is important. I'll just simply hand over the microphone to Leah so she can tell you the story. But the overall point I want you to focus on is what I often talk about: how multiculturalism is failing in Western society, not because there are there are no bad individuals in any given society, including Western society. There are bad individuals, but even those bad individuals, native societies are capable of dealing with them because they've been dealing with those bad elements for centuries or for years or decades. So they come up with a framework to counter that. But when you bring in bad individuals from other societies who are not wholly bad, but they have their bad aspects and bad elements, when they come to Western society in the name of multiculturalism, and of course, they bring in a lot of good with them, but they also bring a lot of bad with them that native welcoming societies are not equipped or prepared to dealing with. So this is one such story of Leah. And I'm going to give the microphone to Leah now. Leah, all yours. Just explain your timeline in your own, in as you understand it, and we'll go from there.
All right. So I am from New York, but this situation began in Columbia, Missouri, where I did my graduate work. And I graduated from there 10 years ago now, 11 years ago. So the situation, unfortunately, has followed me. But what began in Columbia is it began with one man, and I'm ready to say their names because what they've done is hijacked my name. You know, my unique name here, Leonuska Gutierrez. They've done a lot of online stalking and harassment for about 11 years, but it began as in-person harassment. And the guy who started it, his name is Yusef El Tayash. He's a business owner in Columbia, Missouri. He would sit in front of the downtown Starbucks, right in front of across the campus, and would be harassing the young women. I'm not exactly sure what country he's from, but he he would, be with his male friends, and they would be talking in Arabic and in English, and it was just such over the top harassment. Like he would be grunting at the girls passing by and squealing, and street harassment is universal. It happens everywhere on the planet. But this guy was just so over the top, and okay, so one guy behaving this way. When he did it to me, and again, this is like 15 years ago that this happened. Um, as a New Yorker, you're used to saying to defending yourself on the subway, on the streets. Coming from a big city, you're used to that. And these girls did not seem to want to confront what was happening. And I can get into why that might be later, but and they were college girls too, so I was a grad student. These were many college girls that he was bothering on the street. And when he did it to me, I told him to leave me alone. And he seemed instantly very embarrassed. He put his head down, okay, okay. And um but then he continued. What he did after is, so the girls would be passing by as if on a conveyor belt for him, and he would be like looking at the body parts, the crotch, the breasts, grunting at them. And then when he got to me now, he would skip me, like make this big show of skipping me, like I was too ugly to look at now. And then he would keep on going with the other girls. And so I just knew that he was still being a little bit malicious. Maybe I should have left it at that. He wasn't bothering me anymore, but he was still trying to bug me by making such a show of the fact that showing me that he would not stop doing that to women in general.
Like
And
so you have said no, but these women have said that they haven't told me no. So I'm going to keep harassing you, but I'm not going to harass you because, hey, you told me, so you're not part of the game, but
mhm,
others are fair
mhm,
game still. Okay.
right.
And
And
other
so what
girls,
I
none of the
did,
other girls confronted him. They just obviously were.
no, they
He,
didn't,
I'm
I,
I'm just going to say something
mhm,
which, because we do live in a very complex world, and we do live in a world which has somewhat been shaped by people like Andrew Tate and the manosphere people. What they would say here, and how would you counter it? They would say that, oh, now she's not happy that she's not being harassed because she's finding herself
Mhm.
ugly because other girls are being wolf whistled or harassed because the
Right.
guy is paying attention to it. How would you say that? Because this again, the
Right.
you see where I'm going
I
with
know
this,
that
yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's what he was trying to convey to me now by making like such a show, and as a woman, like I've been, dealing with this since age 10 or 11. So like you become very good at reading all the gestural language and the energy coming at you, the intention, like you just that becomes a second language for you. So I could tell that he was wanting to make me feel bad now, that I wasn't included. And I was happy to not be included, but um, he he was like putting on a show for everybody. Everybody could see what these guys were doing, what he was doing with the men surrounding him. Nobody ever stepped in to stop him, but it was a very popular spot. So
So
it was
let
this
me
big
get
show
this straight.
that
So
he was
he was
putting on.
let me get this. So he was making sure that you know that I am making
Hmm.
clear distinction between you and other girls.
Right.
Hey, oh, this one is coming. I'm not going to look at her because she told me no. Now she's walked past. So
Yeah.
he's creating a scene. Like it's not just very subtle. It's
Yeah.
very okay. All right. Yeah, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
malicious. That's definitely
Yeah.
malicious and still it's still provocative and it's still
Hmm.
intimidating. It's not just a
So.
general
Hmm.
underlying message that hey, you know what? You told me I'm being a good boy. It's not like that. It is malicious to the
Hmm.
point where he's coming after you. He's coming after your self-esteem. He's attacking you.
Hmm.
That I am. All these
Hmm.
other women are hotter than you. That's why I'm going
Hmm.
after you. So he's created another rift that shouldn't
Yeah.
even be there in the first place. Right?
Hmm.
Okay. Good.
Right. That was
Keep going.
his new game, right?
Okay.
And so a couple of days later, but he was, doing this every day, continuing with the harassment every day, and I put a flyer on the this was on the outside at the outside tables in front of that Starbucks. And so I taped a flyer to one of the tables talking about why street harassment is not a good thing and about objectification. And so he found that, and after he got a hold of that, which was my intention, and it was for me like to make myself a little bit more intelligible. If he was like just mad at me and trying to make me feel bad, maybe he still didn't get it, why I had protested, so I just tried to articulate why it's not a good thing, because
I'll
I'm a
tell you why
language
that is.
person.
I can easily answer that question to you. As a man, I can answer that, and I understand that Middle Eastern mentality, which is more or less across men everywhere. It just
Mhm.
depends which
Yeah.
civilization or which society you live in, because men in the West are a bit more timid and they have gone past that stage.
Hmm.
But in more patriarchal societies, men believe that women want to be approached and women want to be acknowledged, and and this is the kind of similar thing. This is why I see that as a backward step in manosphere. That oh, it is my job as a man to approach a woman or get it and somehow have her like well, for anything for as a girlfriend or even a
Hmm.
wife or whatnot. That's the man's
Hmm.
job, and I'm gonna go get her.
Hmm.
And if I don't get it, then I'm going to keep exploring these options. What these people don't
Hmm.
understand that there also comes a point where your interests diverge and the woman is actually no longer interested in being with you or whatever or not having to be a part of your game, but that person
Hmm.
doesn't understand no means no and move on from it.
Right.
That's exactly
And
what's happening, and that's
yeah.
why he's still being a part of the story. He's including him in your timeline, which which is obviously unfortunate and
Hmm.
because of your circumstances too, because you have to take that street, or do you have to take that street, or you could go from somewhere else, or
So this escalated because this became like pack harassment, when he involved other men, to target me. And but so I'll explain how it got to that. Because of this flyer, it got to that because I gave him a flyer about street harassment. I made that available to him, and he got very
because you're
angry
also
about
putting
that.
up a fight. But you're also putting up
Yeah.
a fight for because
Hmm.
you also need to you want it stopped too. So
Hmm.
that's also fine too, because I don't want it to be mistaken as oh, maybe did she not change her way, why did she not avoid the
Hmm.
situation, maybe she wanted
Right.
to be part of that situation too. No, you are well within your
That was my
rights to.
stubbornness.
That's
Hmm.
perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Well done, good on you. Go on.
A police officer told me to take a different route, to go about my business, and I refused to do that. I didn't
Fair
want to
enough.
be, yeah, run out like that. But um, So yeah, after he got that information, I guess because I was putting up a fight, or he just resented that I was able to explain, why his conception of how to deal with women in public space is
And
not
he
the
doesn't
only
want to lose
way.
either.
Yeah. So he ended up involving his sons. His dad got involved in the harassment a couple of times, and just his dad was a professor in the town too, computer science or engineering. I'm
Oh,
not
wow.
totally sure. But it was just a growing, rotating, expanding circle of men who would point me out, after I challenged him in this way.
At
And
the
that was
same
like every
spot,
day, every
at
other
his
day,
coffee
at
shop,
the
at
same
the same.
spot.
So that's when they'll
Yeah.
gather up and they'll. So let's say you leave at 5 o'clock or whatever, and they'll be standing there.
They were there at different times. Like, I guess our schedules converged a little bit, but they were there throughout the day at different times because he had a restaurant in the city, and so he could make his own hours, I guess. And that was their
So
hangout spot.
was there ever a point that you put up a fight and you thought, okay, this is kind of getting out of hand. I'm one woman. Maybe I should change my street or
Mhm.
my change my route.
I couldn't do that. I just resented that I would have to do that because, I don't think I come across as a loud person. I'm not, and it takes a lot to get me there. So I had civilly told him to leave me alone. And then when he was being malicious in this other kind of way and still harassing all these college
Other,
girls, I gave him this little flyer, and for his response to be to involve a group of men in harassing me, that just seemed just so low.
well, that's yeah.
And
What
I
well, that's
didn't.
his next step. That's his next step on the escalation ladder. But what about you? Did you try to reach out to other girls and maybe form a group
That's what
complaint
I should have
against them?
done.
Oh, so you
That's
didn't
what I
do
should
that
have
at
done.
all. You
No,
didn't speak
mm-mm,
to any woman.
no. And and they were younger females, but you have to do that. You can't be alone trying to
Yeah, well,
challenge
that's yeah.
a-
There's always
any
power in numbers. I
anybody.
mean, the only
Yeah.
way to bring men down if you can bring more than one testimonies against them,
Right.
because a
Right.
lot
I
of
mean, look,
women.
the Me Too movement was like it took thousands of women to
Mm.
to give that any credence. So that is how it works.
And I'll
Definitely.
tell you what, that this has got men by the balls because they think, oh shit, if one story comes out and if you're a serial predator or a pest,
hmm
then more's gonna come out, and that's when it becomes real. That's when the world starts
hmm
doubting, which is the same thing with Andrew Tate as well. It's not just one woman; there's like multiple women.
hmm
So there could be
Yeah.
one malicious actor. In your
hmm
case, though, that's what I'm saying. Like it's just, and I'm just trying to understand that. So this person harassed you. Obviously, okay, he didn't like when you said no means no, so he upped the
hmm
ante, involved
hmm
other people in there, and you're still studying in that campus. So how
Right.
long did that go on for? Because I think it should have ended there. What happened after that? So it's been how long did this episode last for? Maybe 3 or 4 years, 2 years?
Yeah, about 3 years.
About
Yeah,
3 years.
every day, every other day.
Okay, so this guy Yusuf for 3 years is very childish and intimidating, I'd
hmm
say. You didn't want to give
hmm
up. You didn't want to escalate it either, but he had the last escalatory step where he involved his family members. What happened after that?
Right. So because, this group of men was harassing me now, it was very intimidating, to have like they would be pointing me out to new men all the time. And
Were there
I
lewd
thought that
comments
was
about you too, like when you're walking past, or just
yeah,
Arabic, speaking in Arabic, or
English and Arabic, so I couldn't always make out what they were saying, but definitely demeaning, cracking jokes, just not leaving me in peace as I would walk by. Sometimes they would call out to each other, like pointing at me,
mm.
that I was passing by. Like it was just really strange,
I
but
just, I just
constant.
want to. I do this a lot, and I'm sorry I have to do this to break your flow, but it is important because I want to
Yeah.
give people some visual representation of it because
Yeah.
people need some sort of visual reference to it, like what's going on, how is that happening. I want to play you this video that I've seen in England, where obviously not to this extent, but it feels the same way. Let me play this video.
Fuck off. Politely fuck off. What the fuck?
It's just a video clip, and you can see these women are shocked and they're saying, "What the f?" Um,
hmm
uh, you don't naturally expect that this is going to happen to you. And obviously, this is too far, but it is very close to that. You're having the same feeling that
Mm-hmm.
someone is going to
Right.
invade your space and you're going to be
Right.
violated, or these cracking jokes that you're overhearing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
Yeah.
intimidating. I could totally
Mm-hmm.
understand that. I don't know how anyone can downplay it.
It,
Anyway, that's why I thought it's important to play that video. This is similar to your
mhm.
feeling.
Definitely. Because that stuff, like the really bad acts are on a continuum with the milder acts. It's the same aggression, it's the same energy coming at you, and malice. I mean, that was the biggest thing, that he had stopped sexualizing me, and now he was just angry at me, and all these men were angry at me, and just being very malicious toward me. And so to be to have to confront that hostility all the time for no reason, just because I drew a boundary with this guy who was being he knew that he was being a pig.
Were you confronting them? That what
And
was
the
like? I mean, I did you confront? Did you
I
have a?
no, mm-mm.
So you didn't say
I knew
anything
better
after
than
that
to keep
note.
on.
After that note,
One
they took it
time,
so personally. Okay.
one yeah, just one time where he because he had been doing that to me, trying to make me feel small in that way, like with the other men. And then he made this gesture as a girl was passing by in her yoga pants, and he made a gesture of like her butt cheeks moving up and down, and he and another man were laughing. And I just seized that opportunity. I cared about the girl, but also I was mad at him. And I said, don't do that to girls. And then he just yelled at me at the top of his voice on the street in front of the Starbucks. So that was another little confrontation that I had with him.
And
But
there were
other than
no
that,
other,
I
no one
wasn't.
else stepped in. No one at any point stepped in.
No.
This is,
Mm-mm.
yeah.
And I think that's
It's
Missouri too. Like in New York City, I don't know. Like I
New York
people
City,
are more
maybe
vocal in
not,
New York
but
City.
yeah, but okay. So I want to make this point, because again, a lot of men don't see that happen, and a lot of the time when because
Yeah.
I've seen everything to believe you and believe
Mm-hmm.
that I have seen the before and after of these peaceful again, not to say that these things never happened before in native cultures, but
All right.
things happen, but because we don't see it every day, we think that it's not happening. But it is happening, because a lot of us men say, oh, if I saw it, I would have done something. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
not, and maybe which is why it's
Mm-hmm.
again important to understand that maybe some people
Mm-hmm.
saw that too, but they didn't want to get involved because it is still intimidating
Yeah.
when you see 5 or 6 Middle Eastern men standing somewhere. What are you going to do? You're going to
Mm-hmm.
bring your 5 or 6 friends and probably risk a fight and maybe a criminal charge or something.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't get involved, and you're
Yeah.
fighting. And anyway, so you're fighting as a single one woman who's putting up a fight, but
Mm-hmm.
you're paying a price for it, which we are trying to find out.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and it just because they wouldn't leave me alone, and again, not touching me, but just this intimidation constantly. All I could think to do, I should have talked to other young women about it. I did a couple of times, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I hate that," but I didn't think to, have them speak with me or anything like that.
Mm.
And so I just
Are you in
documented this
touch
for
with
the
any one of
police.
them now?
No, these were just like random girls that I would talk to on the street.
Okay, well, let's hope. Well,
And
I don't know. Yeah. If someone
I
sees
don't know.
this,
It
then
was a
maybe
long
if
time
they're
ago too.
yeah. You
Yeah.
said 11
Uh,
years ago, 15 years ago.
yeah. It began like 14, 15 years ago.
Okay.
And I graduated from there about 11 years ago.
Okay.
But the police, when I talked to police, a couple of officers told me, okay, we'll talk to them. But so this is one episode that
Can't
happened
do
too
anything.
with one of his sons. Yeah, because, free speech and everything. Although I found that in other countries, I was surprised to find that in Spain, apparently in Belgium and France, there are, it's a criminal offense to street harass. I didn't know that,
Because it
but
must be no,
apparently,
because it must have been very common in their society. This is why I meant that
hmm
if it's happening in your society indigenously, then your society comes up with ways to mitigate
yeah.
that. So Spain would have noticed that, Spanish men doing that,
hmm
and it must have lingered on up until very recently. That's why those laws remain. But in the West, like
hmm
in Anglo-sized countries, it's different. It's not wolf whistling, and that culture has been here, but it's been on the decline, and that's why we don't have any laws. So now you bring in these men from Egypt. I don't know if you know the story of Lara Logan, what happened to her in Egypt. She was covering this Tahrir Square
No.
incident. She was a reporter for CNN, I think, and she was mass groped and sexually
Oh, I saw
assaulted. And
that. Yeah.
in that crowd while she was covering it.
On
So,
camera.
yeah, on
Hmm.
camera too. So when you bring in those people and you release them in the beautiful liberated West where women can wear whatever or nothing, or wear
Hmm.
yoga pants or
Hmm.
something, and these men are looking at it, and you think that they're not going to
Hmm.
lose themselves over it, well, good luck. But
Hmm.
anyway, so go on.
Yeah.
So it started 15 years ago, for 15, 14 years ago, 3 years, you graduated there, and these people, this
Hmm.
thing escalated into it. And then what happened? Did you graduate? Did you move on from that place?
So I did, I returned to New York City, and I know how they got my name. Like they had a friend in the Starbucks, and when my last day in the city, my last day in the city, I went into the Starbucks and I paid with my credit card, and their friend was the cashier, and I think that's how they got my name because
So
for
they
the three
work for
years I had
Starbucks?
kept
So they had a franchise Starbucks?
one of their friends.
Okay.
No, like they would hang out there, but one of their friends worked in there, and because it was so many men that they pointed me out to, that were like glaring at me on the street wherever I went in the city.
It was this woman. Yeah,
And I don't
left
know if they
you.
showed a picture of me too. I don't know. Yeah. So, so I think because I gave that guy my credit card, I think that's how they got my name. And so for the past 11 years, they've been doing stuff online. They've found out all of my email addresses and cell phone numbers, and they've harassed me there. They've sent pornography to my social media accounts. I'm not on social media anymore because they were sending me nasty messages and pornography there. They
Do you
created
still
many
have all of
false
that?
social media accounts.
Do you still have?
Um, this was years ago when I went off social media for the most part. But
Mm,
I might have it yeah, saved somewhere, like the pornographic images,
like screenshots? Do you
and
have
a
some
couple of the
screenshots anyway?
messages, screenshots. Yeah.
And were they
But
from anonymous accounts or were they from their actual?
anonymous, that's the problem. It's not
No,
even
no,
worth
it's not a.
saving them
It's not a
because it's all
problem.
anonymous accounts.
No, no, not
Yeah,
a problem at
that's
all.
what they've done. All
When when
anonymous.
when we zoom out and look at any person's timeline, okay, they can be all clever, but they can create all these anonymous accounts, but it's not that hard to put the pieces back together. So
I know that
this
no one
is
else would have
yeah.
been doing that. Yeah,
This is the
nobody else would have been
interesting.
harassing me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So this is the interesting part. Yeah. Okay. Fine. You had your encounter there. 3 years is still a very long time, but no actual
Mhm.
outcome. But you moved on. Leave it alone now. But that's where the
Mhm.
intensity of their malicious character comes in. That they said,
Mhm.
no, we're not going to let you get on with your life. We're going to hunt you down. So
Mhm.
they did find out through that connection that you're thinking of, or could be some other
Mhm.
source, who knows. And again, these days,
Yeah.
not really that hard. So I'm assuming that was what, 2016, 2015.
2015. Yeah.
So that was the heyday of social media. It's not that hard to find. But if you know someone's name, you can Google it. I don't know. It's not that
Mhm.
hard.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to stalk anyone, believe me.
Right. Right.
I've been,
Especially my
yeah,
name.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I,
So you can
I,
like, so they looked it up and either way that. And how long did that go on from? So you moved into the new city. You've gone back to New York City, 2015, new
mhm.
life, and harassment begins of much severe
Mhm.
nature, of
Mhm.
extremely pornographic and violent. How long does that go for?
That was a few years, and it wouldn't always be pornography. It was they would send me dress catalogs and stuff because of their fixation on. I think they were trying to tell me that I deserved to have been harassed because I wore dresses
Oh
and
yeah,
jeans. I think that's what that's about. They would send me
oh yeah,
weird stuff like that,
oh yeah.
but just the constancy, like to the fact that they were hunting out all of my emails and phone numbers, and using my name, creating all these fake social media accounts in my name, just the nonstop nature of it. Like that's what I would, what I would call out
That's
the most because they've sent a lot of dumb garbage too, but the
I am
constancy of
so
it
sorry.
and the length of time.
This is so stressful and traumatic. Dare I say? Um, and how long did that go for? Did you say a couple of years? Did you go to the
That
police? Did you
a
NYPD? Did you say anything to them?
Here when they would like ramp it up, and like I would get calls on my cell phone that again, I just I know that they harassed me for 3 years, and I know it was very clear from some of the messages that I got on social media in the beginning, after I had left the city, that it was these guys. Nobody else would have the interest in stalking me that way and persisting with that, um,
It
the
was
way that
more
they did the person
demeaning.
for 3 years.
It was just like
Mm,
demeaning and punishing you,
yeah.
and just
Yeah.
like
It's like
bitch.
persecuting me,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, I get it. And yeah, and this is the Middle Eastern nature, and which will be an integral part of his intellectual makeup. That these women who wear yoga
Mhm.
pants, these women who show their cleavage or their arms, they're asking for
Mhm.
it. When I tell you this, I'm telling you as a man who understands Middle Eastern and these patriarchal societies. Men believe that. The Quran believes in that. The Quranic verse says that to Muslim women to dress up and put this abaya, which is either abaya, burqa, niqab, that's open to interpretation, but
Mhm.
put that on so other people
Mhm.
do not
Right.
mistake you
Mhm.
for a non-Muslim woman and harass you because now
Yeah.
you know you're
Right.
showing a bit of cleavage, you're showing a bit of arm, so you deserve to be harassed, and that's exactly what they're doing. Exactly what they're
Mhm.
doing. Okay, so 2 3
Mhm.
years that happens. They mentally screw you up. So you say, you know what? I'm assuming you became scared and suspicious of everything, and you say, you know what? I'm gonna shut down my social media profile so no one can track me down. Is that what happened?
So one thing that they were doing, because I got a degree in English and I had some poems online, and they were taking lines from the poems and just messing with that work online, and that's why I didn't want to have an online presence anymore. So, um,
They
I
were messing up with your poems that you were
yeah,
writing
because
because
they were
you're.
creating, yeah, they created pages, social media pages in my name, and they would take lines of my poetry
And are
and
you
combine
sure
it
at
with
this
their
point
bad verses.
and at this point you have not tried to contact them at all?
No. Mm-mm.
You did
And
not
I
say
mean, there
anything
would
to
have been
them.
no point. No, because it
This
was
is a
anonymous. Like
one way. This is a one
one
way
way.
harassment, and I'm
Yeah.
telling you why I believe you, because I went through something similar back in 2019 where this abuse from these salty soy boy Muslim men living in England came from. And the more you ignore them, some people say, oh, ignore them. And look, most of the time it actually works. But
Hmm.
if the other side is persistent,
Hmm.
then they know that
Yeah.
they're getting somewhere. So the more they dig
Hmm.
up and the more personalized the threats become. And a
Hmm.
random anonymous account by like, hey, morpho, I'm going to F you up. You don't respond,
Hmm.
that person
Hmm.
never comes back. But they're digging up on you. They're digging up information on you, what you do, where you live, where you work, who's your family member. Then they
Right.
start coming after your family members. That's the lowest of the low.
Hmm.
They start
Hmm.
coming after uh, your family members' relatives. Because they're digging up.
Hmm.
They're trying to
Right.
hurt you. They know that I want to stop Harris Sultan from doing what he's doing. So anyway, so I know this, and these people were doing this. I ignored it for the longest time. I reached out to the Met
Hmm.
Police. They didn't do anything. They couldn't do anything. They didn't even know who that
Yeah.
is. So anyway,
Hmm.
so then I said, you know what? F you. I'm gonna make it my life's purpose to hunt you down. And I did.
Hmm.
I found out one of those guys who they were. They make a mistake, and then I spoke with one of the they're private. I didn't know that they're private intelligence organizations too.
Hmm.
So I reached out to them, and somehow they did their magic, and I made that guy
Okay.
apologize to me and to my dog, who he had threatened to kill.
Okay.
So,
Oh
and I
wow.
never heard back from them. And I said, you know, that will send a good
Hmm.
message. So back then, I made a tweet and everything. I told people, but I
Hmm.
was not interacting with them at all because every time I knew that if I feed them, that will tell them
Right.
that he's getting upset and they will up their attacks on me. I'm fine, but they were actually coming after my
Right.
family members. Now, did that actually get
That's
to?
true.
Did that get to your family as well, or that I understand why they were personalizing it? Do you understand? They were personalizing it. They were going
Hmm.
after your poems, so to hit you, to
Hmm.
hurt you, to mentally
Right.
screw you up. And the next step would have
Right.
been your family. If I don't know if they ever got to it or
They
not.
they didn't get around to my family. Like they had enough with the poems, because I just that like it's sort of like invading your consciousness with the constancy of the harassment, and also taking these things that are so yours, intimately yours. Um, but in general, that's what they've done. My name, with the fake social media pages, the poetry, and
Are those
it's
still
just
some
like
up? Are some of those pages still
yeah,
up?
yeah,
Or
the old ones are still up there. I haven't wanted to take them down, so they continue to play with, and I don't know how they do this. There's a video on YouTube from again, like, 10 years ago where I'm reciting a poem, and they seem to be playing with that link, and they keep putting different cover pages on that. So if you Google search my name, these weird images come up that they've put, and they're really immature images, but but they
Yeah,
just, they're not nice and they don't
because the
stop.
purpose is
Um,
because the purpose is to mentally screw you up.
mhm.
That's
It's
what
like
they
trying
want
to
to do.
invade your consciousness, I think,
Yeah,
like the fact that they're never going to stop, to make you know that they're never going to stop, which is like street harassment in a way, like trying to force your attention
it's
to them, but
worse.
it just never ending.
It's even
Yeah.
worse. It's
Yeah.
worse. It's a degree deeper. The wound
Yeah.
it cuts is deeper than street harassment. It's like a scratch
Hmm.
versus a deeper wound. Because yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Like they're invading your consciousness because now you're thinking about it like when in your most
Hmm.
supposedly one of your calmest of times when you're sitting down watching
Hmm.
TV or
That's what
something,
they want.
and all of a sudden
Right.
this comes into your mind that, oh, this is going to
Hmm.
happen. I totally understand. I don't wish anyone to go through that, but I did go through that at one point. And being a man, that's again, they were hitting different notes. For
Hmm.
example, I mean, I probably wouldn't get upset if someone created my nude photo or something. I'd be like, yeah, whatever. But if someone does that to your loved ones, it hits you differently. And again, if you're a woman, it hits you
Hmm.
differently. Okay, so that's
Hmm.
going on for another how long?
So,
Sporadically, all the time up until
mm,
very recently.
exactly. And
They
you
still
asked
haven't
me if I
given up.
contacted them. No, they haven't. Like it's their stuff. If you Google my name now, their weird images
Okay,
are there
so
now.
on and off, childish things, basically trying to mess up with your consciousness, and it did
Hmm.
hurt you, affect you to the point where where you withdrew from
I
social media life. You became very,
Yeah. I don't want to get
very,
their messages, right? I don't want to get their porn and their messages. I don't need that, And
and the
then the
police can't
poetry I
do
publish
anything.
under a different name.
So
They said that they can because it's too hard to trace the
it's too hard
anonymous
to trace, too hard to
messages.
put the finger on them,
Yeah.
and they know that. What did you do? I hear you tried to reach out to his family to stop this abuse. What happened?
Yeah. So after a few years of the online stalking, I they had my name, so I found out their names. The El Tayash is their last name, and I saw that one, maybe the youngest brother, he went to the University of Missouri Columbia, and so I reached out to him because this was during Trump's first presidency, and he had written an article against Trump's Muslim ban. And in this article, he appealed to his Christian and Jewish brothers and sisters, all this
Oh,
rhetoric. And I know it's rhetoric because I appealed to him, yes, saying, if you care about this stuff, if you care about fairness and dignity, can you
no,
maybe
they don't.
stop your brothers or one of your brothers, whoever's doing this, from continuing to harass me? And when that happened, like it just ramped up for a while. And a couple of years ago, also, I tried the same thing because now he has a school in Columbia, with the same rhetoric on his webpage. The school is for everybody's development. We invite people of all races and creeds and religions. And so I just, you know, I shouldn't have, but I again tried to appeal to that, because he's
Obviously,
capable
they
of
don't
speaking
care.
in that register
They
and they
don't
don't care.
care.
It just
I don't
happens
care.
more and more. So I know that
No,
he's in on it. And it's this fakeness.
there
He
is
talks in
no.
that way.
Yeah, no. That's why,
Yeah.
guys. This is why I tell you. I actually made a separate video on this tweet by Mehdi Hassan. He's just like, oh, there's this woman, Lucy White. She's saying, I do not want my country to be full of Mohammeds, Khans, Patel, Singhs, Abdel, Baba Dundis, and Mohammeds and whatnot. I want my country to be full of Matthews, Peters, Johns. Well, this is the reason why. And look at this. Look who's gaslighting. Look who's fighting back. Look who's pushing back. Kind of like the brother of this harasser who's been harassing Leah for all
Hmm.
these years. Well, your forebears should have thought of that before they went around the world colonizing the lands of Muhammad's Khan. So enjoy your racism. That's it. That's all they do. They never look in the
Hmm.
mirror. They never
Hmm.
introspect. It's not because they're incapable of introspecting. It's because they don't care. It's not their agenda. Their agenda is
Hmm.
to seek revenge or whatever. What civilizations have always done this, okay? Every civilization is trying to conquer the other. And that's what they're trying to do. There were
Hmm.
5 million Muslims in Europe at the turn of the century. Now they're 50 million 25 years later. What do you think is going to come out of that? This is going to come out of that. Antithetical values, antithetical people who do not share Western values. Even their methods of harassment are different.
Hmm.
That's what we're trying to
Yeah.
tell you. And so
They're
you
different
saw that.
because
Yeah. And I'm
Mhm.
assuming, what were you at that point? Were you, because obviously you read that article, And you obviously would have felt that, oh yeah, Trump's anti-Muslim ban is wrong. Did that change your mindset after looking at that, going through that experience?
I over the years I've tried to learn about what can be motivating these guys, because I understand that it's this family, and I don't believe in generalizing, but it was just so poorly motivated what they were doing. Their hatred was just not justified, and the fact
They
that it
look at
was a
you
pack of
differently.
them, that what?
They look at you differently. They
I'm
look
sorry, I
at
didn't hear
Western
you.
women differently. They look at, I'm sorry, I'm saying they look at you
Right.
differently. They
Yeah,
look at
that's what I
Western women
learned,
differently.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
I'm aware
everyone,
of
but it doesn't
sir,
matter.
like cover yourself so as not to be harassed in public space.
Oh, there you go.
These particular men, this family, I know that that's what is motivating them, because the dad who began this harassment, Yusuf, his daughter wore a full hijab and abaya. She was
Oh,
very covered
wow.
up. So
That's why.
and
How old is this guy? You
yeah,
said the one who was harassing you? So he was
he
an
was in
older
his
man.
40s or 50s. Yeah.
Oh, so he was, and his
And then he had like
son?
5 sons or something, and the sister. Yeah. It was a
Wow.
family affair.
Wow.
Which
So
is,
where are we? So where are we at the moment right now? So now you reached out to me about a few months ago. So let me tell you why I felt the need to actually talk about this, because Leah, when she first reached out to me maybe 4 or 5 months ago, is that right?
yeah.
So and she very vaguely told me about her story, and I instantly understood. And it's not because it's anti-Muslim, therefore I'm going for it. Or it's not anti-Muslim. It's in my domain. I understand how civilization societies work. Now I understand. I'm not a professor or anything, but because I've seen too many of these examples. So when I saw that this is what's happening, she was so timid. She wasn't sure whether to tell her story. Up until last week, she wasn't even going to show her face. She
Yeah.
wasn't going to show her name. She was just going to sit behind an avatar and tell a story. I said, look, these
Right.
people have taken hold of your identity. After all these years, you're now you're wanting to break these shackles away. Oh boy, I know how that feels. You don't want to hide. If you're complaining about being reduced to a shell of yourself, then the only way you're going to come out of that is by breaking all barriers and put your freaking face and identity on the line and tell them, look in the camera and say, Yusuf, whatever you tried, you mofo, it didn't work. It worked for a little bit, but it didn't work. Now I'm coming for you. So that's why I suggested it's your decision to tell your story. And she still wasn't sure. I thought that she's going to postpone it again for another month, because in these 4 months, she said, yeah, let's do it. And then she said, no, I'm not ready, which is perfectly fine. And I don't push anyone. So this is, you have to understand from that. And I can easily understand, despite the fact that I'm a man, because I have been put in a similar situation and I had the upper hand at the end, and I want Leah to have that upper hand. I want whoever this Yusuf mofo is, I want him to,
And his
I want
son.
this, and his son, the whole family, the whole fucking family. I want them, I want them to see this, that Leah has taken back control, and yeah, they can act tough and big. This is, yeah, they did that. And you know what? Leah's story is one of many other women. The kind of one that I played you before. Look, let me show you some more. Let me show you some more what is happening on our streets. And I know a lot of Americans say that this wouldn't fly in America, but yet here we are. Where are all my cold-blooded, warm-hearted American, brave American gun-toting men? Where are you? Because this is happening. Watch this. I've got so many of these videos where these men from horny third world cultures have been prowling our streets and harassing women. Watch this. Look at these Afghan men. They're loitering outside a nightclub. I think this is Ireland. I'm not sure. I think this is Ireland. Watch, a young woman walks past. She's about to go in. And one of these men, they act tough when they're hanging out together. They go like this. Watch. They're daring each other. He's like, oh, yeah, go grab her. Can you do it? Can you not? So this woman, again, in Western society, it's okay for women to go to nightclubs all on their own and expect not to be harassed or touched or groped on the streets. But no more.
Another one. Yeah.
Look at this. Did you see that? There were two men there. They didn't want to get involved. You know why? Because there were 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
there's always a man who turns up. So there's a big man turns up. Watch this. Like, hey, what are you doing? He confronts him. His friends didn't jump in, but look at him. He's still being aggressive. And he says, go away. And now these other 2 guys are thinking, maybe we should jump in too. Like, he's like, yeah, come on, yeah, let's go have a fight, yeah. And his friends are saying, no, let's go, let's not do it. My point is, I have seen hundreds of these videos, guys. I have seen hundreds of these videos.
I've seen them too. Yeah.
This is
And
unacceptable. This is only happening because of multiculturalism, because of bringing in men from antithetical societies. If you had done it in small numbers, then you would give those people who are coming in a chance to integrate and assimilate. Try to go learn the Western norms, how to talk to a girl, how to approach her, how to charm her. It takes
they're
time.
not interested. I mean,
No,
the
why
dad
would they
of
be?
this group was not interested. No, he was
Why
just
would-
interested in unnerving the girls and imposing on the girls.
How they behave in their
and-
societies. That's it. That's how they behave in their own societies. This is the whole point. This is the whole bigger point that I'm making, bigger than even Leah's story. Leah's story is one of millions that is happening and taking place, and it is shaping Western society in general. It's happening all over the
Right.
Western world. In some places more than others, but it is happening. So I would want. Well, first of all, this is very brave of you to come and show your face.
Thank you.
And it's very brave of you to show your face, show your name, and reclaim the narrative. And I hope something good comes out of it. I don't know, guys, if you know anyone in Missouri police or something. I don't know, New York City police, NYPD. I don't know.
I
It's
mean,
none of them done.
they're very they're entrenched in that community, because they have their businesses there. They've been there a long time.
That
But
doesn't
it's
mean
still
anything.
surprising
should-
that nobody said anything to them ever.
Yeah,
And
well,
maybe that's
I-
the
I-
Midwestern way. I don't know. Like I was a visitor there too. But the one reason that I spoke to them was because I noticed that he was not. I saw his daughter, and I noticed that if Muslim women passed by, he would not do that to the Muslim women, just to the non-Muslim
Oh no!
college
With the grooming
girls and
gangs.
graduate students. And I
You
knew
know
what that was. Therefore, so that bigotry, I was able to identify.
You know what? Well, to me, I need to get as many eyeballs as possible. I really hope. So let's just end this now, and we'll do an update later on. But people, my dear Americans, this is for you, especially the ones in Missouri. Can you do something about it? I'm not saying break the law or anything. I'm saying, can you do something about it? Like, can you show the American way? Rather than going to the police or know someone in the police department, someone who can do something about it. I'm not saying that whether it meets a certain criminal threshold or not. I don't know that. I don't know those things. But surely there is a way to restore your societal values, which is a woman should be able to walk through her streets without any fear of harassment or intimidation or threat of groping or whatnot. She should feel safe. They should not go like, oh, we heard something and we should just accept it and just keep walking. You got to remember, because Western men have been tamed not to do this. Western men have lost a lot of ground. But there are some other men from other cultures who are coming in doing what Western men used to do maybe 150 years ago, 100 years ago. Let's just say, okay, let's not go too carried away. So why are you losing this ground and giving it to some Neanderthal coming from somewhere else? Why? So I don't know. Let's see. All right. Thank you very much, Leah, for talking about this. And
I just want to say too. Yeah, I just want to say that what you're saying is one reason that I wanted to call this out, because I know it's happening all over the place, and that there are these ideas motivating these guys because their behavior is so over the top, so bigoted, so targeted against non-Muslim women. So I don't tolerate that bigotry, and they haven't shaken me really. I don't want to give my poetry to them, for them to tear it apart. I don't feel like doing that, but I know who I am. So I'm okay. But I just wanted to make this known because, for people to know that it's happening here too.
Sorry, I know you wanted to read your poem because obviously that is one of the ways they targeted you with.
Oh.
Do you want to read your poem?
This was actually something from Toni Morrison that I found, so it's not even my poem. But
Well,
it's let me just show it. Um, it's basically these lines from a character uh, in Song of Solomon, Baby Suggs giving a sermon, and this context is racism and slavery, right? But the character is just basically, countering the hate that's coming at her and her people by saying, love all of your body parts, um, and that's this is it, the parts that they would hurt you, like they would chop off your hands, they would violate you, so you have to love yourself radically, to counter that. And I won't read it, but um that's just my
okay.
ethic,
Okay. Well,
I
maybe we'll do it
because
some other time.
I
But
know who I am. Yeah,
and well done
this is the
for
only way to counter them.
absolutely and taking back control. You're the master of your destiny. According, well, at least in my philosophy, it might differ a little bit with how people in the
Nobody
philosophy of
deserves
religious
that. No
people.
girl deserves that.
No, no individual deserves that, but you need to you need to be in control of the trajectory of your life's evolution. Thank you very much for joining. Let's hope something good comes out of that.
Thank you,
Otherwise,
Harris.
we will talk about this again in the future.